Well, Western Cape Premier Alan Winde says the province does not have enough police. An additional 1,100 officers are being deployed. Winde was delivering his State of the Province address. Today, he reiterated that the province's safety plan is focusing on increasing boots on the ground and reducing violence. For more on this, we're joined now by the Premier himself. He's live for us in our Cape Town studios. I believe he's supposed to come up behind me. There I see you, Premier. So you are speaking once again about the need for more policing in the Western Cape. 1,100 more police officers, I understand, are needed?
Well, 1,100 extra police officers is what we have received so far this year, and I really welcome that deployment. We're about 4,500 policemen and women too few in the province, and in my opinion we should have even more than just trying to reach parity or the norm, because we have some real hotspot areas where crime is really crazy. It needs to be dealt with. But of course our safety plan is also how do we bolster that, how do we help with it. In our plan we talk about putting more boots on the ground. That's a partnership between the province and the city of Cape Town, where we're putting law enforcement officers on the ground. So we've added again 500. 2 weeks ago 500 new law enforcement officers had their passing out parade, and by June, July we'll have our second 500 trained and ready to deploy, and we'll be deploying them in the hotspot areas where crime is of the highest. We have an aim to reduce murder by half in the next 10 years. But of course it's not only about deployment, it's also about interventions and violence prevention. And so in the plan it's about how every single MEC in the province have got a priority program. So if it's the first 1,000 days in the Department of Health, or it is safer schools within education and changing behaviour and value sets, or whether it's social development and the role they play, or whether it's trying to intervene where young boys are at risk and getting hooked into drugs and crime, that we remove them and put them into projects like Project Chrysalis, where we really help to shape them, give them an opportunity for the future so that they don't end up in the hands of the gangsters and crime. They actually have an opportunity to play a meaningful role as entrepreneurs and as positive role players in society.
And just on that point about how the policing is going to require more than just additional boots on the ground, you have highlighted what needs to be done by the various departments, but the police officers themselves, we know, not just in the Western Cape, but countrywide, have been under a lot of scrutiny as far as the level of skill and expertise is concerned. We know in the Western Cape, one of the big issues is around gang violence. One of the other issues is around drug peddling. When you assess the skill of the officers that you have currently, is it in line with what are often very unique needs where you are?
So our law enforcement officers go through training, and specifically go through extra training where they have the need for perhaps dealing with drug crimes, dealing with gangsterism, etc. Also specific firearm training. That is done in conjunction with and signed off by the police. But what we also are trying to do is trying to bring both our law enforcement officers, our metro policing and SAPS closer together. I'm really grateful that we've got a new police commissioner, Lieutenant General Matakata, who's now been assigned to the province. We hold a safety cabinet where we try to bring national government, provincial government and local government together, along with all of those MECs and departments. We have correctional services coming along. We have justice coming along, so that we start to unpack where the blockages are, where the shortfalls are. For example, I mean, here in the province we're all reeling at the moment. The body of young Tasni was found. Really, another murder, another young girl. And really, we've got to fix this. We've got to halve the murder rate.
And allow me to come in there, Premier, and ask you what is being done specifically to ensure the safety of children in the Western Cape. Because as you say, every few months, the Western Cape is back in the news where a little girl is missing, a little girl is murdered.
So, for example, in this case, part of the safety plan will be interrogating the system of parolees, and specifically parolees that we know are high-risk parolees because of their previous and past crimes. It's also about investigations. Now, these are not normally a provincial competency, but we need to say we're prepared to play our part. We're busy with, we want to use a special methodology now, understanding why we're not getting the convictions through the court systems. It's not a province's job, but we've got to be asking those questions and then saying, what can we do to help the system? Too often, people are let go on bail. Too few people are being convicted. There's insufficient consequence to crime. And we really have to deal with this. We have to ask those questions, and it might be a national competency, but it's happening in this province, so I have to take responsibility for that, and that's why we've put this plan together, and we've got to find these solutions. We can't have politics getting in the way of a national politics or provincial politics when our people are dying and suffering. So we've got to make sure that we find that middle of the road where we get a space to discuss these things, put the issues on the table and find real concrete solutions. And I'm really serious about that, and we've got to make sure that over time we reverse the trend that's happening at the moment.
And on the murder of little Tasnie van Wyk, which you mentioned, it's now raised again the issue of a lack of trust in communities, in police officers, because what people are saying is that this man was out on parole. How is it that law enforcement is unable to detect when people who are on a parole system, for example, are involved in any other crimes, even beyond the case of Tasnie van Wyk? So confidence building and trust between communities and the SAPS will also be quite crucial.
I fully agree with that. There is definitely a breakdown in trust at the moment. And of course, you've got to go to the causes. Why is there a breakdown in trust? What are those issues? And we've then got to go in and fix them. And I understand that, again, that is with the police, but we really are serious about saying, how do we work together? I think General Matakata's appointment now is really good, because when she did her presentation the other day at our safety cabinet, you could see she was serious about trying to address top management issues. It starts at the top, it starts with leadership, and then you've got to move down to deal with the errant officers, people who are not holding up the values that we are all looking for, so that you do build the trust within communities. I must also say that right now, yesterday and today, I mean, the communities in and around Tasnie's home, you can see people are angry. My message to them is, please don't use anger to show your frustrations, because anger is not going to help, and crime is not going to help crime or fix crime. We need to find other ways. But I do understand that anger, because for so long we just talk about these things when they happen, and then everything seems to carry on in the same way. That's why this plan in the province, and I'm determined. I'm really focused. I've only been in office for 8 months now, but that is becoming our #1 focus. We've got to make this province safe, and we've got to make those communities, because it's very focused, and we've got to make sure that those communities are safe. Then children can go to school. We can grow the economy and jobs. We don't have to be held to ransom like we're being held right now.
Alan Winde, Western Cape Premier, thank you so much for being on Upfront this afternoon.